We're all talking about this poll and what happens, but it doesn't actually matter in the end because we don't know what rigging will go on, because we don't know how free and fair the actual voting process will be. But does the rising star of Rouhani ahead of the vote not put the authorities in something of a pickle nonetheless? Because this is an election that is being closely watched.
Well, I mean, that's the contradictory sense within the Islamic Republic. On the one hand, they want to control the process. On the other hand, they want to have a process. And by having the process, they're opening up for a dynamic that cannot be controlled fully. So if you look at the candidates at the beginning of the campaign, and if you look at them through the presidential debates, you see that they have to stake out positions that differentiate them from one another. Otherwise, they're all going to look the same and no one's going to vote for them. So Rouhani, in a sense, becomes more of a reformist for each debate, because that is the part of the electorate that he knows that he can get. And that in and of itself opens up space for talking about things that 6 months ago you weren't supposed to talk about.
That is, Fariba Hatrudi, looking in on this election, one of the fascinating things about the campaign, that it is impossible to control things entirely, and unexpected things will happen even when the field of candidates has been so carefully restrained and controlled from the start.
Yes, it's why I'm telling you the contradiction within this system comes from its construction. I mean, it's a theocracy, and on the other hand, you have a pseudo-democratic institution. Then, and plus that, after 34 years, they seem to understand by their own that they can't go on like this. It's not just the population against the system, it's also a front within the system which fight together and sometimes fight, among them, and sometimes fight against the institution of Velayat Faqih, which is the theocracy of, a man who is above all the institution. That is the contradiction, and that is the danger, and also a kind of hope. The danger is that, unfortunately, about all the research I've done, it seems that Mr. Khamenei doesn't want to give the slightest point or a little bit of opening to his policy.
It was made quite clear in 2009.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. On the other hand, some of the people around him try to make him understand that all of us, we're in the same boat and we will sink. But in my opinion, I'm optimistical because I hope the best for my country. But when I see that Rafsanjani, who has been, in fact, the man who pushed Khamenei in his throne, may I say, that he is so much hated by Khamenei, and even though for his own interest he doesn't listen to him, it becomes weird and a little bit worrying about the situation.
Ali Fatemi, I wonder what you think of the Green Revolution and where it's gone today.
Well, let me first say that I personally think the regime has won the argument. The fact that we are sitting here and discussing elections in a country which is a total dictatorial regime, that means they have played a game on us. We're talking about an election. There is no election. This is just like North Korea. One man is deciding everything. Now, even this will not be in the future. If Khamenei stays, he already has said he doesn't like popular elections because he may get him in trouble. It did get him in trouble the last time. So he's saying that next time the parliament is going to choose the president. So no more mass election, because they can control elections for the parliament because it's all over the country. But this one is centralized. The eyes of the world are in Iran. So he's praying right now that he gets rid of this one, there will never be another
But is it your
election.
view that this one is as tightly controlled as that?
Oh, definitely is.
There is
Definitely
nothing
is.
that can come out of it, get out of hand?
Well, not with these candidates. I think it's an illusion to think that Rouhani is different than anyone else.
I'd like to put that to you, Ruzbeh Parsi. Do you agree?
No, I disagree totally, respectfully, but still, because I think there is a huge difference between North Korea and Iran. I think the fact in the last 20 years, just about every election has served as some kind of surprise. And the fact that the system is not so monolithical, because if it was, it would have been very simple to just destroy the reformists and you would never hear of them again. If you look at these candidates, you can basically say that no matter how much they narrow down the field, which they have done, someone in there, if they're going to compete for votes, will have to look at that part of the electorate that is disaffected. So Rouhani may not have been a reformist when it started, but he's in effect a reformist now. Why? Because there are thousands of people who go to his rallies and compel him to be a reformist. Now, how much can that change the system? It's not going to be an earth-shattering change, because that the system would not allow or tolerate, but it's going to be a vast difference between him as a president or Jalili as a president.
But
and that is what people are basically trying to, they don't want Jalili perhaps, so they will go for Rouhani, or vice versa.
But it is your view that the system would allow Rouhani to win?
Well, I mean, we can speculate about that, but I think if you mean allow, as in he will be elected, it depends very much on how much rigging there will be, and that's not clear.
That's not clear.
I may say something between the two. I agree that it's not North Korea. Fortunately for Iranian people, it's not monolithical power. But the problem is maybe they may let Rouhani to be, maybe there won't be any fraud there. But what will happen afterwards is important. They have done the same thing with Fatemi. They had let him to come. After months, they have been the murderers, what we call in Iran, the change of murderers of intellectual. And there is a film which comes out of it. That is the problem. That is the most important. Khomeini, he has become such a complicated-minded. He had been evaluated from the beginning by his others, and it seems that he becomes so Machiavellic, but in a way so narrow-minded that he may let him come and afterwards say, you have to do what I say.
We're going to come back to that point in just a moment. We're going to have a quick break, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes with the second part of the debate. Do stay with us.